I recently learned of a conspiracy involving the Great Wall of China that is so bizarre, I had to make a video on it. In fact, when it comes to ancient China in general, it's actually quite mysterious. In fact, few people are even aware that China has ancient pyramids. This is something that of course is public information, but few people are aware of just how many pyramids exist in China itself. But what's even more bizarre is just how many of them are forbidden from public visitation. Now, that's not to say that they are all prohibited from public visitation. But when you look at the fact that so few photos are available of many of these pyramids, in fact, many of them are old and grainy and blurry, and there's hardly very little information that's available to the public on them. And one of the things I argue on my channel is that pyramids themselves is evidence of a lost ancient civilization that spanned the continents, as I do not think that it is a coincidence that pyramids exist on 4 continents around the world. Now, many will dismiss that as to say that, hey, pyramids are something that children will build with blocks, and that it's the most simple structure in existence. You stack a layer and put another layer on top, and so on and so on. But that's not the case when we're discussing multi-ton stones. But regardless, the very fact that so little information is available on the pyramids of China, in fact, most of the images that you'll find are from satellite imagery. It is a fact that many of these pyramids are prohibited from public visitation, and that is something that makes my conspiracy wheels go. But not only that, look at the fact that they literally covered them in dirt and planted trees on top of them. Not only will these trees destroy the ruins beneath them because of the way the roots will grow, but it's actually prohibiting us from seeing the pyramids themselves. Why would they do this? This is the same thing we've seen at Göbekli Tepe with trees planted on to the ruins, which many will say is not a conspiracy, but I'm not even going to get into that. The very fact that the pyramids of China have trees planted on top of them is just another example of either complete archaeological mismanagement or an attempt to hide them from the public. Now, that might sound a little bit crazy to some people, but I encourage you to research the pyramids of China yourself. Again, many of them have tremendous amounts of information available, but when you look at the fact that hundreds of them exist and so few of them are available to the public, it should make your eyebrow go up. Now, the topic of this video, like I said, is involving a conspiracy involving the Great Wall of China. Let me first mention a few interesting facts about this site to remind everybody. It is approximately 13,171 miles long, which is approximately 21,196 kilometers. Unbelievable. It is literally the longest man-made structure in the world, and it was built over centuries. Construction was said to begin in the 7th century BC, so 2,700 years ago, and finished into the 16th century AD. And it had multiple purposes. The wall was built not only for military defense, but also for controlling trade, immigration, as well as communication. And it's made of varied materials, whether it's local materials, including stone, brick, rammed earth, and wood. And even more interesting, there's more than 2,000 watchtowers and numerous gates that were built along the wall for surveillance, communication, and access control. And it's even said that the labor force, the estimates, suggest that hundreds of thousands to possibly millions of workers were involved in the construction of this wall. But not only that, some sections still remain hidden or buried, with estimates suggesting that up to 30% of the wall remains undiscovered. But here is something that a lot of people find surprising as well, is that a vast majority of the pictures that you'll find on the internet involving the Great Wall of China are all at the notable tourist locations, all of which have been restored. It's not until you go off the beaten path that you realize that a vast majority of the Great Wall of China is in ruins, shattered, and slowly decaying. And I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Michael Collins of the Wandering Wolf YouTube channel, who visited China personally, that's him, just a few years ago and explored the areas off the beaten path. In fact, he entered the Great Wall of China 4 miles from the entrance, and keep in mind there are numerous entrances. But it's once you get off the beaten path that you see how unbelievable this structure is and the level of decay that it has. Now, keep in mind the wall's average height is 20 to 30 feet, or 6 to 9 meters, and the wall's width varies between 15 to 30 feet, or 4.5 to 9 meters. And over 10 million people visit the wall annually. However, a vast majority of it is hardly ever visited at all. But as you look through these photos, I'm going to share as many of them as I can. One of the most astonishing things, other than the length of this wall, is the extent that they went to construct it over various steep hills and mountains. This wall is an unbelievable feat of human ingenuity and engineering, and it cannot be overstated just how impressive this is. I mean, we all grew up learning about the Great Wall of China, but I feel like through my studies on the topic of ancient history, it's seemingly been forgotten. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. It's been totally off my radar. And it wasn't until I had a live stream with Michael Collins that he informed me of the various conspiracies involving it. Now, let me real quick share the sponsor of this video, and then I'm going to share with you the conspiracy, which is Aura.com, your all-in-one platform to protect your identity, your assets, and your privacy today. I know that one of the reasons I get so many spam texts, phone calls, and voicemails is because big companies cannot keep our data safe. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all their customers' calls and text records have been exposed in a massive data breach. The stolen logs also contain a record of every number AT&T customers called or texted. So even if you don't use AT&T, if someone who texted you did with your number, you have been exposed. That's where Aura, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number or any other sensitive information has been compromised. They also give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit or bank accounts. Aura does so much more to keep me and my family safe as well. I get transaction monitoring, a VPN, which, by the way, a VPN is enough reason to go with them in itself, but antivirus as well as a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance, all in one app at one affordable price. What I find particularly useful is their AI-powered call assistant. It picks up unknown calls on my behalf to screen them for spam or scams. The AI forwards legitimate calls to me so I don't miss important things like appointments, deliveries, or emergencies. It also protects me from harmful text messages by filtering out known spam numbers and links for phishing threats. I'm not leaving myself or my family vulnerable to data breaches anymore. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/brightinsight to try your first 2 weeks for free. The links are in the description down below as well as the pinned comment. With that said, back to the video. It wasn't until I had a conversation with Michael Collins involving his trip to China from a few years ago that I became aware of this conspiracy. And it involves two things. One of which is the fact that he literally was able to scale over this wall from the outside going in. I'll say that again, and keep in mind we don't have images of it because he wasn't aware of what was happening while he was there. It wasn't until after the fact that it came to his awareness of just how astonishing this fact is, which is that you can climb over various parts of the Great Wall of China from the outside going in, which makes absolutely no sense on earth if this wall was constructed to keep people out, as of course we were all taught in school. But not only that, the various arrow slits that are found throughout the wall are also found facing the inside rather than the outside. And many areas of the wall have the arrow slits facing both ways, which they say was to help with the defenses. However, what Mike witnessed firsthand was that there was vast portions of the wall that where the arrow slits were only facing the inside, not the outside, which in other words is indicative that the wall may have been constructed to keep their people inside, unable to leave, rather than keeping outsiders from coming in, which to me is one of the most disturbing things I've heard. If that is indeed the case, which again guys, think about this for a second. If you're able to easily climb over the wall from the outside in, whereas on the inside going out, it's noticeably steep, maybe we should consider the possibility that this wall was constructed for much more sinister reasons than we had imagined. Now, this of course will be highly debated. I'm not saying it's a total fact, but what I am sharing is that people who have gone to this site, who I trust, have visited it on the complete remote regions of it, witnessed firsthand that they were easily able to climb over the wall from the outside going in. Think about that. And the very fact that there's arrow slits facing the inside rather than the outside, I mean, come on. So this is something that I have to go and visit myself because I cannot begin to tell you how difficult it is to find information involving the remote areas of the Great Wall of China. Try it for yourself. Try Googling this topic and see how difficult it even is to find pictures of the remote areas of the Great Wall. Yes, you'll find some photos, as I did too. But when we're talking about a structure that's over 13,000 miles long and has so few photos available, at least in that regard, and again, most all of the photos are from the notable tourist locations which have been restored. You see, it's the more that I study the topic of ancient history that I learn that there are so many details involving various structures around the world that just don't add up to the things that we were taught in school. You've all heard me talk about the Great Pyramids of Giza, which of course, no pyramids in Egypt had any mummies found in them whatsoever. And none of the tombs have hieroglyphs and petroglyphs that you find in the Valley of the Kings and elsewhere. And you've of course already heard me talk in ad nauseum about the various excavation issues surrounding Göbekli Tepe, which is of course the world's oldest and most mysterious ancient site. And for whatever reason, excavations, large-scale excavations, have essentially been deferred for future generations with an estimate of 150 years before it'll be fully excavated, which makes absolutely no logical sense. I'm not going to go down that path in this video because I've been talking about it extensively, but it's something, like I said, I want to mention in every video to keep people aware of the vast issues involving the archaeological situation today. But with that being said, I encourage everybody here to do some of their own research on the Great Wall of China, and I'm hoping that this video will encourage other people to visit the country and the wall itself, as I plan to do so. I want to be able to see firsthand and take photos because, again, it wasn't until I talked to Michael Collins that I became aware of these details. And he wasn't expecting to see what he was going to see until after he was there. He didn't understand going into it that he was going to find areas of the wall that he could climb over from the outside in. He wasn't aware that he was going to see tremendous amounts of arrow slits that were only facing inwards. So it's examples like this that people like us, just normal people that are enthusiasts for lost ancient history, that can take it upon themselves to travel off the beaten path to various ancient sites around the world, that we can do our own research because Lord knows we can't rely on the archaeological community or the academic community to do so any longer. These people might mean well, but they're taught certain information in schools, and if they want to get employment as an archaeologist, you have to go down certain paths. You're not just free to go exploring things on your own. It's just not how it works these days, which is incredibly disappointing and sad. Again, take a moment to look at more photos. I have more photos than I can possibly share, but I want you to appreciate just the incredible marvel of engineering that this site is, and then consider to yourself the possibility that this wall, which is very mysterious, there's so much that we do not know about the Great Wall of China. I'm not saying we know nothing about it. I'm not saying it's a complete mystery. I have to point that out because people will, take me out of context. But when we're talking about a structure that's 13,000 miles long and there's so little of it that the public ever visits, people need to take it upon themselves to do the research. Now with that said, I hope you'll take an opportunity to follow me on rumble.com. I have a presence on YouTube and Rumble, and I also do live streams on both platforms. Also, if you want to support me and my work, follow and support me on locals.com. I do a monthly live Q&A where I answer all questions and comments. It's very personal. You can also support me on patreon.com. But this type of funding for me will help me to travel to China, which I'll be honest, I've been telling people for years that I don't ever want to go to China. I don't want to give them my money. I don't trust them. It wasn't until I saw all the tyrannical restrictions involving the events over the last couple years, which I won't mention on the video, the way they locked people down in their apartments for months on end, like 2 years after that situation was over. It makes me scared to go there that if there was some event that happened, I'd be locked in there for extended periods of time inside the country. And I don't think that would be good for me as an American. But that being said, leave a comment and share your thoughts on this. This is a topic that I'm still investigating, and I did such tremendous amounts of research on this and was astonished to see at how little information you can find on the remote areas of the wall. Whether it's finding examples of the arrow slits, go to Google Images and try to look up images of arrow slits on the Great Wall of China. You'll find some, but there's so few, which is odd considering there's more than 2,000 watchtowers, considering there's probably hundreds of thousands, or if not millions, of arrow slits on the wall itself. And I can only find so many photos of it. It's bizarre. So I'm going to close this up. Leave a comment, share your thoughts. My name is Jimmy Corsetti. My channel is called Bright Insight. And stay tuned for another video and live stream to come. But with that said, share your comments, and I'll have another video again real soon. Take care, everybody.